Today we will be learning slope from a table and from points. Okay, these two things are very similar and we'll take a look at why in just a moment. Okay, remember slope, we are looking at rise over run or your vertical height over horizontal. Okay, vertical over horizontal. Okay, and when we take a look at these in a table, okay, they're labeled as X and Y. Well, if we compare our table to our graph, our Y values are our vertical and our X values are our horizontal. So we can also talk about this as the change in Y divided by the change in X, or the change in Y over the change in X. That little triangle just means change, okay? So we're looking at how much the Y value changes over how much the X value changes, okay? Now, each of these can also be written as ordered pairs. So this would be our ordered pair -2, 1, okay? X comma Y. All right, this would be 3, 4, okay? And this is where finding slope from a table and from points is very similar, okay? Because we are going to be looking at the change of Y values over the change of X values, okay, for each of these. So my change in Y values here from 1 to 4 is 3, and it's going up. And then from -2 to 3 is 5. Okay, so my change in Y over change in X, or my rise over my run, my vertical height over my horizontal, is going to be 3 over 5. Now, I'm going to double check and make sure this ratio stays the same throughout, because if it doesn't, then it's not linear. Therefore, we can't have a consistent slope. Okay, so 4 to 7 is still 3. 3 to 8 is still 5. We're still moving in the positive direction on both 3 and 5. So we're good to go on this, and our slope is 3/5. Okay. And let's take a look at the second one. So we have 5 to 2. This is -3. We're going down 3. From 1 to 0, we go up 1. 0 to 1, 1. 2 to -1, we're going again down 3. So this is going to be a negative slope because one of my values is negative and one is positive. Okay, and when we have a negative divided by a positive, that is a negative. Okay, so -3 over 1, which is -3 as the slope. Okay, there's one more of like that for you to try on your own. Now let's take a look at what it would be like to find slope from 2 points, okay? Again, like I already said, we have x comma y, x comma y. So we are looking at the change in my y values over the change in my x values, okay? So my y values are 6 and 2, so the change in those would be 6 minus 2 over the change in my x values, which would be 0 minus 2. Okay, so I have 6 minus 2 is 4, 0 minus 2 is -2. So I have a change of -2 over 1, or -2 slope. We could also do this where you take the second number minus the first, so you could do 2 minus 6, okay? And then I would do 2 minus 0. Now notice the numbers I put directly on top of each other, if I use the first value, the first point as my first value, I have to do that for both the numerator and the denominator, and the same with the second, okay? So if I do the second values, then I need to do that for both, okay? And this would give you -4 over 2, which again simplifies to -2. Same thing for both, okay? Now let's take a look at number 11, the next one. So my change in y values is 0, okay? And my change in x values is -5 to +3 would be positive 8. Now, if I take 0 and I divide it 8 times, I am still left with 0. So this is actually a 0 slope, okay? So this is a straight line that is horizontal like this, okay? Now, if it were undefined, let's take a look at this next one. We have change in y is -5. My change in x is 0. Well, if I take -5 and divide it, I can't divide it by 0. Like, I can't do that. So this is undefined. Okay, this is what it would look like to be undefined slope. All right, so this is the difference between your 0 slope and your undefined slope. Okay, there are several more that you can try here on your own.